Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:06 and entertain any changes to the agenda.
Can we just add an executive session at the end, please?
Yes, I'll put that under other business.
For contracts.
And then we'll let everybody go.
Thank you.
Any other changes to the agenda? No?
Did I didn't have this in my principal's report, but the FTA and I talked about winter sports, and I just thought, since we just finished winter sports, we might just have a little update on how it went this year.
Okay, I'm going to put it under the principal's report, and we'll get to it under that.
Okay.
Can I have a motion just for the books to amend the agenda?
So
I'll
moved.
make, yeah,
You can
motion to go into executive session to discuss contracts.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. That was, Peter, that was moved by Selena, seconded by Dan. And board continuity. This was a secret agenda item. This is Jude's last meeting.
Oh, is that the
And-
continuity? Seems like uncontinuity.
We want to thank Jude for her service, especially stepping up during probably the worst experience of most people's lives.
Yeah,
the
for sure.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Some
And,
people run to the turbulence. Some people run away from the turbulence.
But yeah, Jude, we've loved working with you, and hopefully you'll come back someday and do other things with us. But we did bring some treats. Dan, thank Dan
So
for that.
lovely. Orange and chocolate. was
Yes.
And
a
there's,
fantastic combo.
They're both caramel, but one is dark chocolate and one is milk chocolate.
Caramel is my favorite
So-
candy.
Yeah, you
It's
thought caramel?
done
Great.
beautifully.
You get to do side by side, milk and dark, and you get to forget which one you like better because.
And we should note for the camera that no tax dollars were used in purchasing these items.
And no animals were harmed, actually. Well, not that we know of anyway.
What's the chocolate made out of?
Yeah, it's organic fair trade, so.
There you go.
Thank you, Jude, for all of your work. It's
Yeah,
been
for sure.
a real pleasure having you aboard. And your experience and your background brought a lot of good perspective to the table, so thank you.
Optimism and out of the box thinking about like funding and thinking of these big things in larger scope. It's just, that was why I was disappointed that you weren't continuing, but I'm sure someone else will get these gifts along with our community, so thank you so much.
Jude, I love getting to know you better during our deep dive into preparation for Act 172. You brought a very important and unique voice to a very small group that was trying to navigate how to find the freedom and unity in a big change for education in Vermont that is going to be realized over the next 10 to 20 years. And you came with some very thoughtful questions that forced our thinking, which was extremely helpful. And it's been wonderful to work with you on this board after that, but it was fun to get to know you at that point. And hopefully I'll continue to keep running into you.
Where am I going? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. And I'll just say really briefly that I think what a difference, and I'm so proud. Every time I hear the national news, I think, God bless our town. Like I'm a school board member, I'm doing fine. Doing absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And that is not true around this country, and it exposes a wound that is not partisan. It's human, and that's why I came in here. Was really that I saw that everything was hurting so much, and such good people, and so I've just been really proud of how people assume responsibility for that and really leaned in this very humanistic way, and I think it represented the town very, very well and where we're at now, which seems really solid and good. So yeah, I'm pumped for what's coming next, and not going anywhere. So 100% behind Wayne. Really so grateful for this, how much you're solidly in the community now and focusing us forward, and Bill's just amazing ally, and visionary for us. And as my own children focus out into the world, I'm also so impressed with Vermont and the services that are here for kids in whatever track they want to take out of high school. I'm blown away. And so I can't wait to, hopefully try to bring that to this community about all these resources and amazing, mostly women, at least who I've met so far, like amazing women leading this state and this region on what's next for kids. So really exciting. Very proud of locally and then also, the bigger picture. Congratulations to all of you for your hard work.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This
and
will be loaded onto BCTV in about 72 hours. And so it'll be listed under the agenda of board continuity, and it's probably well worth your while to keep a copy of this moment.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And keep coming and talking to us too, because,
Yeah.
you will notice
I love
things
a meeting.
with your kids. Well, you can just send a memo, you don't have to actually, but you'll notice
I do.
things that we might not notice, so
Yeah.
please keep us in the loop.
But
Thanks,
just,
Dan.
we prefer you just text complaints, that's all.
Yeah. Or Twitter, use your Twitter.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and I don't see any members of the public, but I am gonna say that I did receive an email from Catherine Hamilton. She's not gonna be able to make the information meeting, but she did wanna have a few questions answered about overall spending increases, and I sent her about 5 bullets back, sort of explaining that, said to reach out to all of you if she had more questions, or when she got the town report, if she had a line item that she wanted to be specifically answered, she could, write us then. But that's all I think we have for the public.
Can I piggyback on that?
Sure.
I actually got a phone call from a new voter in town who is a Marlboro School alum. She just graduated BUHS, and this is the first time she can vote. So her dad called and put her on speakerphone and was like, she has questions.
That's awesome.
So it was just a sweet
good.
moment to
Yeah.
be a part of her first voting experience.
That's awesome.
It was kind of cute.
Yeah, that's really
And she's
good.
researching. She's actually thinking about the vote. That's great.
There
Yeah.
can be a lot more of them.
Yes.
I don't know what the
I
governor
know.
will do with the.
He's not in agreement with it, but
He seems to want to veto the lower
Oh.
voting age, but
yeah,
it would
no,
be
it
a
was
great thing.
exciting to to get that phone call.
That's so cool.
Anything else from the public you guys heard? No?
I got 2 phone calls from, concerned people who had seen, because the town reports aren't out yet, but basically going from what you put on Front Porch Forum. So, it's a big shock, and the town is looking at increasing its expenditures both on the road crew and in the general fund. They've scrimped by for way too many years. So, it's unfortunate they're going up nowhere near as much as we're going up, but it's going to be a double whammy. So people are going to be concerned, and but we've got good stuff out there. The town reports, Gail picks them up tomorrow morning. Then they'll start to hit the streets for better, for worse, and we'll see where it goes from there. But
Okay.
Well, the word's already out because we have the mixer. So I know some near and dear folks in town that are already asking me questions as well too, and have some figures and numbers. So I'm sure the questions will come, and Dan, we're on Saturday.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
those
so
will come
that's
up
gonna
on
be that's
Saturday.
gonna be the first one. We probably should do a little bit of prepping.
yeah, so just so you all know, I had offered to go with Wayne because I'm hoping that mostly people will be calling you about the curriculum for next year and sort of about the educational components. But if people are upset about the tax ramifications, it seemed unfair to
Yeah,
have you be having to deal with that. So that's
That's good.
my goal, is to just hopefully answer those questions. So.
I want to just read a quote that I sent, which I thought I'm going to share probably at the informational meeting if it comes up, which is instead of asking why there was an increase, the better question is why there was such a decrease last year.
Yeah.
And I said, if you remember pre-COVID, the board had a tax rate of $1.99. Then COVID hit. The feds and states threw gobs of money to areas which allowed us to have an ease last year. The board approved a 173 tax rate, and then the state changed the yield and it dropped significantly more to 163. So last year was an anomaly and not a true year in that regard. There's 5 other bullets, but
Well, I think that's the main one, is that we got away with it, and we had no right to have gotten away with it. But we can't do that again. It's not fair to the kids or to anybody else. So.
correct. I mentioned other things too, like negotiations, unionization, healthcare, things that we don't have control over.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that we needed to purchase some space because we went from 75 to 101 kids, and we don't want to teach in closets.
Can you guys, or have you already done that personal outreach to those folks who contacted you to tell them about this Saturday so that they can ask Wayne and Dan in public if they
I'll
want?
write her back and see. I invited her to this meeting too because I said it's a week in advance, but you could certainly come and ask questions. So I
Yeah.
didn't hear back. So
Maybe she, yeah.
But I will do that
Because
too,
it's
Judy.
Zoom, right? It's a Zoom
Yeah.
Saturday?
Yeah, and every time that I've done it, it's been well attended,
Yeah, I've done it.
so.
Can you put it on?
humble
front
brag.
porch?
What's that? Humble brag. No, it's just people are curious because it's the time of year that folks want to know about what's going on in the school, and it's also
Oh my God.
their 60 minutes, 59 minutes glimpse of what the school is like right now, because nobody's allowed to come in, and we're going on 2 years,
Yeah.
and so I get a lot of questions about just like, how is it? So that's what I'm going to open up, is that, and then I'll get into the programming next year, and then Dan, I'll pass it off to you with what the budget ended up looking like to be able to provide that programming to our students, you know?
Okay.
And then questions, and then go from there.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good, yeah.
I don't see members of the faculty. Did they issue anything? I didn't get emails or anything.
No, I haven't heard anything, no.
Okay. Bill, take it away.
Yeah, so just going to be brief, but
You? No.
yeah.
Thank you for driving all the way over here, Bill, by the way. We love to see you, but
It's great to see you
travel
guys.
farther than any of us.
Yeah, you don't have to be brief.
I like being brief. Bill's a
I
brief
know,
guy.
I feel like
Just-
you are very brief.
I've provided you with a written report, but just a couple highlights. We're moving into a new arena of the COVID world. And at the press conference on February, whatever, Tuesday was, they announced that they will be not renewing their guidance for masks or changing it at this point. And the way it reads right now is that as of February 28th, if you have 80% of your students vaccinated, the recommendation from the Vermont Department of Health is to not require masks universally. If you remember, this board voted to follow the COVID-19 memorandums. So in following those COVID-19 memorandums, we will not change any of our current practices. However, also at the press conference, it was signaled pretty strongly and reinforced today and my superintendent's call with Secretary French that the expectation that it will go from 80% to something more of a recommendation for masking as a individual choice will probably be forthcoming after that. The states that surround us are all ending any recommendations for schools as of February 28th. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire never had one, and New York, not the city, but the state, appears to be, I think it's March 14th. So I would expect that the state of Vermont's COVID-19 advisory memorandums will be updated during the month of March to reflect the conditions in the region, the conditions of where we are. So I just wanted to kind of preview that for everybody. So the board, in following its own motion to follow those COVID memorandums, we will probably have a point in March where there will be a press conference. There'll be an announcement that it is no longer being recommended to be universal. And so that's something we want to prepare for. We want to prepare for an environment where I can feel comfortable wearing my mask and Wayne can feel comfortable not wearing his. And treating people with respect and knowing that there's going to be differences. And so that is something I'm meeting with all the principals tomorrow on, just to prepare the environment for kind of getting to a place of more typical interaction amongst the school community. Along with that, things that are not nearly as prevalent in Marlboro, but places that have cafeterias. We should be opening up those opportunities for more typical interaction between students. If we have been really tightly potting students, we can open those interactions up between grades and grade levels. So it's quite exciting for me to think that March is kind of this month of transition. And as the spring comes and it gets warmer, that we can practice as a community again what it means to be a part of a community in a different environment. Because we have students that haven't had that practice for 3 school years, 2 calendar years. So it's kind of uplifting in a way to start thinking in that transitionary way. But we all play a role. We all play a role of being highly respectful of individual choice. We all play a role in being highly respectful of community choice. And we all play a role of understanding that people are going to feel different levels of risk and different levels of comfort. So when I go to board meetings now, I'm talking about this. So I just wanted to bring that out. In support of all of that, the state has been wonderful in making sure that we have an enormous supply of antigen tests. Nurse Sarah has provided any family that would like to have one over break can have one. We also are starting another new program called assurance testing, which is for all employees. And so we have got delivered today rapid PCR tests. They're 30 minutes, they're LAMP tests.
Oh, cool.
And I am delivering, I think my delivery time tomorrow is about 12:30 here at Marlboro. But Sarah will be communicating with her colleagues that anybody who would like that can have that. And we will get a delivery of that every week. So whatever comfort level you want or interest you have, all staff members are going to have availability to that. So families are going to have availability of antigen tests. Staff are going to have availability of LAMP PCR tests. And the nurse is going to have availability of both of those. So if a student has symptoms or they need to do testing, the nurse will be able to use her professional judgment on which test she would like to give. Is there a question?
I do. So is this just for the K through, pre-K through 8 attending student body, or is this for pre-K through 12 Marlboro resident student body?
Have not thought about that. My assumption would be that if they're in Vermont, they would have the same access to those things. I would encourage anybody that
Through the school they attend? Is that
if
what
they
you're saying?
attend a public school in Vermont, they will have the same they get the exact same access.
Gotcha.
But I didn't even consider this, but if I'm a Marlboro resident and I'm a 10th grader and I go to school in Massachusetts, and for some reason I would like to participate in this, I would encourage them to go ahead and reach out to me, and I will see what my restrictions are in my availability to allow our materials to be shared.
Are the students requesting this, or is it being sent home with them?
It needs to be requested.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, very good.
We need to
Yeah,
inform the
very
group,
good.
and then if
Yeah.
you want it, we'll have it.
Gotcha.
We're trying to make it as easy
Yeah,
as
yeah,
possible.
sounds great. Good.
So that's kind of the world we're going into. You know, we're not contact tracing. We have tests for people. March is a transition month, so I just really wanted to point that out. Daniel.
So a couple of questions. I do wonder where we stand on that 80%, but I'm also curious, just saw something in the paper about, is it West River? And maybe you could just tell us briefly what that discussion was up there and what the result of that vote was.
Sure. So West River had a discussion on Monday night about were they going to continue to follow their own decision in August to follow the COVID-19 advisory memorandums, or were they going to make an individual decision? And so they had a motion, are we going to continue to follow? And that motion did not pass. And so they stayed with their original decision of August. But they also have it on their agenda for March 7th, preparing for the evolving nature of how this plays out. Wonderful, great discussion. I will say that my approach is that I do not feel I am qualified to make any recommendation that goes against the Vermont Department of Health's recommendations. And boards get to use that information however they wish. But I am an educator. I'm a bald man, but I am not an epidemiologist. And
Despite my appearance. I'm not an epidemiologist.
but yeah, I'm just really trying to encourage a respectful approach to our neighbors, to our friends, as we go through this transition, because I really do foresee, for the first time in a long time, the availability of the true community where our energy and action is all about the learning community rather than public health. It's always going to be around. We're always going to be smart. There might be I have no idea what's going to happen in 3 weeks, but the data points are showing this direction, and I'm excited that we can get to that.
So perhaps it's divisive to even ask the question about Marlboro School and the percentages here. So if anybody's uncomfortable with that,
Well, I could just give you a global answer.
Okay.
Nobody in the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union has reached 80%. And Marlboro is not within the margin of error of 10% up or down.
that's good to know. All of those are good pieces of information, so thanks.
You bet. And then finally, I just wanted to, again, I know Wayne has communicated to you, I know it was in his principal's report, but it's a really big deal that Wayne is going to the Center for Creative Leadership. It's been a big point of interest for Wayne, the board, myself, of continuing education, leadership, communication. I'm very fortunate, I didn't get to go, but I get to, part of the requirement of going is the interaction you have with your boss. And so I've had 4 other of my colleagues get to go, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to interact. The amount of deep dive that Wayne is going to get to do, this is essentially a $15,000 package for CEOs. So the Center for Creative Leadership is international. You got people coming from all over the world, and this was a bequest for Vermont principals from an estate. And it's a 10-year partnership. We're in year 5. And Wayne also gets the benefit of going at the same time of 2 of his other colleagues, the principal from Newbrook and the principal from Dover. So I'm just really excited he's doing that deep dive. As Wayne expressed to me, this is like candy. You can't get enough of it. And I agree.
I'll bet it's hard candy though. I'll bet that you're gonna have some work is my guess.
It is not easy.
Yeah, I'm
They've
sure
got
it does.
they've got the one-way mirrors,
Yeah.
and they record everything, and they break down your game film or your communications.
Wow.
Really?
They
Yeah.
come at you from different angles.
Wow.
It's intense. And then you have a
No
accountability partner for another 18 months.
Just kidding, just.
It's
who's
cool.
Working on his contract.
It's
Just lock
so
him in.
cool.
Yeah.
It's
It's
super.
so cool. I mean,
It's
to be
awesome.
able to have that as like a, wanting to believe that education is really a place for lifelong learning, like to have that as a resource tool for our leadership to have, it's such a gift. It's super cool.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that you're.
And
doing
it's
Lock 'em
exclusive.
in.
Wayne is one of 40 people that get to go. So.
That's so,
It's
so
Wow,
cool.
that is
Yeah.
terrific. That is
It's really nice. So those are my highlights.
Thank you, Bill.
You bet.
Any final questions for Bill before we move on?
I was just gonna tell Jude that, I know that, and tell you all that BUHS, students who, from Marlboro, BUHS students of all the our surrounding towns are going home from school tomorrow with 2 antigen
Oh,
tests,
yeah.
2 boxes of antigen tests, with the expectation that they will test before they return to school on the 28th and the 1st, before they return to school on the 2nd. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
And
because she.
you
could-
know that,
yeah.
but Jude doesn't know that. So
Well,
who's paying
no,
attention to their kids there?
I might have known that. I'm
They're high
not
school.
sure, but I will
No,
say
I'm sorry.
that no, it's okay. You can goof on it. But I will say that there was a athletics department, a sports related potential contact, and there was you should test on this day and this day, and we did, and it was all good. But no one was like, here's where you pick up your antigen test. And I do feel like it's a bigger burden on the larger districts to be able to,
Very challenging.
yeah.
right, and my kids live in this district, So if we could actually come to Sarah, and if that's something we could make available to whatever it is, the 15
Yeah.
If you
kids,
put it in writing to me,
pre-K through.
I'll bring
Yeah.
up the flagpole.
Yeah, that
Okay,
seems like a
I'll do
nice
that.
thing to
Yeah,
do.
it just seems like that takes the burden off BUHS. They
Yeah.
want us to get, and we happen to have access to all the ways we could, so we had them sitting there. But not everybody does.
Not everybody does, no. They have been
No.
passing them out, like if you need them, they've been telling, but not all the
Right.
students are accessing them, for sure, because not all the students are getting the memo, but you can walk down to the nurse at any time and be like, I need a test, and they'll just hand it to you.
That's correct.
It's just a lot. Everybody's carrying this whole additional load of public health.
Yeah.
You know, which is like a secondary job. So even when they're available for you, it's really just the sheer volume of request that is not possible to. Yeah, I was wondering.
Okay, Wayne.
Great.
Are you gonna use the big screen?
Yeah, I love using the big screen. Oh, yeah, plug it in.
Say out of order right there, no?
So just piggybacking on the professional development, I really enjoy unpacking myself and getting to know myself more. So I am really looking forward to it. One of the things I'm most looking forward to is being able to go down to North Carolina the first week of April. I will be more than happy to get out of the 40 weather, drizzly, rainy that I normally get. And then there's two other times, summer and then next fall, that we spend a couple 3 days up in Stowe doing training as well too. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed all of the CCL training, the better conversations every day. I do use that every day. It's made me a better listener. And when I took it, I didn't take it with all the other principles. I took it through CCL, and so I got to work with people from around the world. There was somebody from England, there was somebody from Maine, somebody from Illinois, and then in the big cohort, there was people from all over the world. So it was 40 of us. My little cohort had somebody from England, and so I was talking with CEOs and other folks that had very different dilemmas than I had. But what was nice to hear is that really all of our dilemmas were the same. Like, how can we communicate better with our colleagues and then the folks that we supervise in order to make them better, make the relationship better. And it was really nice. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it in a different capacity. So yeah, so that's where we were with that. I'm gonna just say that we're gonna move on.
Is that out of order?
Yeah.
Sign, you want to pull that
Unless,
forward?
because I know that we've had a lot of IT work. The folks have been hanging out with a lot lately. Let's see if I can get into this way. Great.
Great idea.
Ta-da.
It's much easier when it's. So, you've had a chance to see this. We've just held our January benchmarked assessments. Those happen 3 times a year. It's a battery of tests, testing extensively in the lower grades, those ELA and math skills. And then the upper grades, it's mostly more of the global assessment. What we saw this year, and to the teacher's surprise, because their bars are so high here, that anything but perfection is something to work on. But 1.5 right here, if you can see, 1.5 is when it goes from expected to above expected.
Oh, yeah.
So when we're looking at numbers at
That's
2.72 and 2.87,
Yeah. Wow.
it's not just above expected, it's actually significantly
Yeah,
above
great.
expected.
Yeah.
So what I really like about this score the most is that yes, the students are growing and they're learning of math and ELA. And we also took the approach of really spending a lot of time on the social emotional well-being of students as well too. So it's really nice to see that both of these are working well with each other, and that the social emotional piece that some may wonder or worry if you spend a lot of time on that you're taking away from academics. I feel really comfortable with these scores, and also very comfortable at the time that we spend during morning meeting, extra outside time when kids are feeling, really really tense, like really going with the flow of the emotion and the social needs of students, and also getting good academic scores. So I'm really happy about that.
Question
Yeah.
on that, Wayne.
Yeah.
Just on the numbers, I see 65 and 57. I
Yeah,
know preschool probably is not anywhere near that, but we do have 101 kids in the school. So just, is it the bulk of the upper grades, I'm assuming, and then
Yeah.
opt-outs from the bottom?
yeah, it's grade 2 and up.
Okay.
So pre-K, 3s and 4s, kindergarten, and first grade do not take the test.
Yeah.
The reason why there's a difference in number is because the math test is taken first, and a couple of the kids ended up taking it a little bit after the window they took it, but they're in a different benchmark.
Great.
So they just happened to not be there the day that we were doing the testing. So that's where we are. So yeah,
Can I just celebrate this for a minute?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
teachers,
Yeah,
like,
it is
I feel
nice,
like the
yeah.
teachers really have created a very
Yeah.
safe, like a very, very warm and healthy, positive learning environment where kids can really thrive.
yeah.
And, I know there's been a lot of like negative thoughts around like standardized testing and stuff like that. And I think this is just an example of like, you don't have to, it's not about teaching to the test. It's about creating a healthy learning space that is safe and comfortable for our kids. And our teachers are clearly going above and beyond and doing it very well. So
Yeah.
big shout out.
Yeah, now externally that can be
Oh,
documented.
yeah. no,
It's not just, a feeling that
it's not-
you
it's
get
not just
that you're
nostalgia.
succeeding.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, the numbers
Yeah.
are really clear, and that
Yeah.
can be, celebrated in the self-determination of the teachers and staff, and the curriculum-wide focus is really, the proof is here.
But I really liked what Wayne said, was that by also concentrating on social and emotional health, the two of them
Hey, David.
are interspersed and tied together. So you just say, okay, we did better. That's a really crucial point, and I'm really glad that you made that.
Right,
And
exactly.
celebrate that as well. Yeah.
Totally.
For the teachers and for the students.
Yeah. I don't see this as an area of improvement, but an opportunity to just keep building on the work that we've done. I've underlined improve, but I'm thinking a little bit about that. And I'm really thinking about next year. One being the math interventionist. There's quite a bit of weight on Jesselyn teaching 5 through 8.
Don't hit him,
And then also doing all the interventions essentially for those students as well. So that's gonna really help her out, and also help out the K-4 teachers as well too. So that's an area of just being able to provide that expertise and that extra time for students is going to improve
That's amazing.
on what we have here. The other part is that when we're doing our assessments, we really don't have a good assessment for reading fluency, which is how smoothly you read, and then also reading comprehension, and really an interview-paced piece, so that you read this piece, can you answer these questions, that reading comprehension. And that's something that we want to explore for next year. It's a missing assessment that we continue to have pop up on us. We're like, oh, we should do what is called, for fluency, a running record to see how they're improving. And so we want to add that to our repertoire for next year. So either as Fontes Pinnell, Ames Web, we're doing that this year for specific students, but for next year we really want to make it part of our core assessments. So,
Do they
there
do
we go.
anything at the district? Does Jen do anything in
Definitely.
that regard? Yeah.
Yes, they use Ames Web. That's
Mhm.
something that we chose not to do.
I remember that conversation from a few years ago.
Yeah, and really, Erica being part of the IS team this year, and being able to work with that team has really brought back that information back and said, we really need to look at this piece. Pam's a very strong primary teacher who was an interventionist for a decade. So she already has that repertoire, but if you have a classroom teacher and you don't have that background, you really need that additional support. So we're finding that we need that additional support.
Can you go back to that for a second, where you were?
Sure.
So are you saying that, I'm sorry if I just didn't grasp what you were just saying, if you
Yeah.
were speaking to this, but, So the assessment that you're doing right now for specific students, you're saying you'd like to strengthen that to all students? Yeah, okay, that's good. Yep, gotcha. I agree.
Yeah, we're using it right now as,
Right,
we wanna know more.
right.
And we wanna move it, this
Right.
assessment, assessing this piece, we want it to move into this is what we do for everyone, and we're keeping track of everyone.
Yeah,
You know, we're doing a lot of letter, you know, in the younger grades, letter naming, letter sounds, you know, then moving forward with blended sounds and all of those pieces to learn how to read. But we're not directly assessing students on listening to them read and seeing at what level they're reading. That's the part that
Right.
we're just doing in bits and pieces. Pam does that naturally in her classroom, but we need a more extensive piece. The other piece too, I'm glad you're bringing this back too, because it's one other piece that we wanted to bring up is we worked really hard to to consolidate our special education, and that has worked really well. The only challenge is that we also don't have this assessment that then helps further to give information further for special ed students that could potentially need services in the future or special ed students right now. And the other schools have that, but we don't. And that does create a little bit of a challenge because we're all sharing these funds, yet we're also not using the same exact assessments.
Oh, I thought that's who the specific students were. That's not who they, oh, who are they, really?
No, I mean,
Oh, I'm glad you
the-
said that.
yeah, so
Yeah,
special
yeah,
ed-
we want that.
yes, we do.
No, it's strengthening the tier one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So that's a piece that we want to do. So it's like that twofold piece of just knowing more about our students, but also we agreed to be part of the consolidated Act
Yeah.
173 special education program.
We pushed for it in the
We
beginning.
pushed for it. So this is something that we got to come back to later on, and we will have something in place next year. And again, having Eric on the team, Jen leading the way, having the academic support team, having a math specialist to be on the academic support team as well too next year. That there's got to be some give and take, and this is one of the things that we're really focusing on to improve for next year.
But I also want to applaud you for questioning it and being a part of the decision-making process through the SU as to exactly how this happens. Because, you know, I like the thoughtfulness that comes from your approach to things. So, you know, Ames Web is useful, what Ames Web is useful for, but maybe other things are better. And so I think that's a great conversation for you to continue to be part of. So thanks
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up, because 3 years ago was a different conversation. But today we're than today. So let's just, you know, that's part of learning and growing, is that we're gonna always try things and try to do things better, and this is just one of those pieces where we feel like we need to reassess ourselves, so. Yeah. We got a lot of new folks, actually personalized learning. So Carol Martin joined us this year in the pre-K classroom. She's doing an amazing job, works really well with Patty, and she's starting to take some education courses on early education, which is just really great. Waddington, you know about that. Our Jedi team, which, you know, continues to meet monthly. We had a bit of a reboot in January. It was one of those points where, you know, we had our most challenging month with COVID. Folks weren't able to, they were coming up to this meeting, folks weren't able to attend. There was a fair amount of them, and I ended up canceling it. And it actually was the right thing to do. I had a time to meet with the facilitators, talk to them. What's so great about our facilitators is that we're just one of many schools that they work with. And we're one of, you know, many districts that, and far and wide. So they mostly work with Massachusetts students and schools. But they were able to like really break down ways that we could improve. Scotty and I got to work, the principal at Newbrook, Scotty. And we came back in February just much stronger. We were able to recruit some classroom teachers, which we didn't have. And starting in March, we've been able to make a connection with Leland and Gray, with a staff member that's going to bring students. The 2 classroom teachers will start. The group's getting stronger.
Cool.
We're building relationships, we're building that trust, and I'm really happy about the direction that it's going in.
This team.
This team, and I feel like it's pretty amazing to be pulling this off this year, honestly. But it's the commitment of this work and it's the commitment of this group that's making this happen. Yeah. We participate in a digital citizenship course. Digital citizenship course. I'm not gonna say that again. And just really looking at what it's like to be working right now. We are going to participate. We're gonna be doing that soon. But we wanted to start looking at like what does the internet world look like?
Oh my gosh.
And what are kids accessing? How can we access it? And when I was teaching all the time, and it was 7 or 8 years ago, and kids were texting using flip phones, I had obviously had a much better beat. And I feel like right now this is something that I want to make sure that I keep on learning about, improving, and getting my favorite TikToks. So. But that being said, it's just really important, I think, at this point to keep up with the kids so that we can guide them in a way that's safe and healthy. So we're doing some work there. And then this is one of my goals for this year is a math learning walkthrough. Bringing in Les, and Jen McCusick is going to join us as well too. And what we're really going to do is take an inventory of our K-8 math program. That'll help us understand our program more, start to learn how to do math walkthroughs or learning walkthroughs in general. And I think that would be really important with our new math specialist coming on, that like this is where we are right now and this is where we would like to go next. And since I've been here, we've changed many programs. We've changed every teacher except for 1-2, and that's been 4 years. We're starting some new programs. And it's time that we just step back a little bit, and this is what the step back is. Take an inventory as to what's going on. And in our programs, see some continuity, see where teachers would like to improve, see where they're having struggles, see where they're doing really well. And that's what this whole process is going through, is looking at this. So we're going to be meeting next week to really bring this to life, Les and Jen and I, and then on the in-service day, we're going to bring all the teachers together to ask them what they want to focus on. This is the shell, and let's all come together to create what this learning walkthrough will look like. So I'm really excited about this. Les, I know, the reason why I know him is because my former place was a school that was a low-performing school. And so we've done these before with him, and he's done them at many schools. This is something that he does even in his retirement for schools. So he's very good at this, and it was really impactful when he did it at this, the former school that I was at. So this is really great. And what it looks like is you have goals, you have a set of criteria that you have, and you walk into each classrooms and you spend 20 minutes observing. And then you leave, and you got all three of us, Jen, Les, and I, leave and really talk about what we saw. And then we take all this data from all these classes, and at the end of the day, we see what themes we saw, how did we meet our goals, how are we not meeting our goals, and we create a report for all the teachers. And just it's really data based, and we go, here we go, so that then we can have a place where we can talk about what's happening in each of the classrooms, because no teachers are seeing what other teachers are doing, partly because before it was do not mix pods. Second, they're pretty much brand new programs, and third, just so happens they're teaching math when somebody else is teaching math too. So this is one of these few opportunities that we can open up the windows to our math program so that everybody can see and jump in. So yeah, I'm really pumped about that.
I don't know if you want me to wait until.
No, you can go.
So partly,
Take it over there, Bill. Here, take some of these too.
partly this is just food for thought, maybe for Bill, that up above in your other section, it's just, I know that what you mean by the math interventions, it's falling a lot on the primary teachers, but there's a way that comes across when I read it like that, as if that's not their job. And so maybe there's some way to frame that where it's like those teachers need support because the student need is great. And then I was going to say that we've done a lot of work in my organization, which is a nonprofit, to attract a more diverse pool of candidates, and particularly trying to build relationships with HBCUs, which is a process. It is not, you have to get into relationship and there has to be money in the budget to start that, and then you have to have follow-up, and they want to make sure you're not just going to, it's not transactional with their graduates. And so, but it pays off if you invest over time. So I would be happy, I think I'd be happy to ask our department that's been working on that to sort of share those insights if that was something that we wanted to pursue. I don't know how it translates
Absolutely.
over to education, but yeah, it's been great for what we're looking for.
Vermont Partnership offers us a local service, but
She's teeing you up.
very expensive.
Yeah,
I'm team.
you're teeing me up, yeah.
I'm team, yes. I'm all about T-ball. Here it comes.
Let's go this bullet. So the facilitators from our Jedi team, I reached out to them a little while back and said, could you help us with our job descriptions? Can you help us take an inventory of what our community looks like, is like, for, you know, in order to increase racial diversity within our staff. And I also felt it was really important to start this now, because we have two teacher openings that are coming up, and these may not happen again for a long time. I remind folks that if Marlboro keeps the tradition of holding staff for a long time, this could be it for a while. You know, I'm the fifth principal since 1963, and 53, and I don't, you know, I plan to be here next year. So that idea of like these jobs don't come up very often. It just so happens that we've had a lot of turnover because the previous generation who had all the jobs for a long time all retired at the same exact time. So I do have a meeting with them next Thursday. We are meeting with two of the facilitators to talk about what would first of all, look at our school. What do we need to do in order to, for somebody who is racially diverse from us to feel safe and to feel like we can have conversations and meaningful conversations if things arise in our community. And then to be able to say in a way so that it's not looking like this is an initiative, that this is authentic, and that we understand that we are growing in our ability to understand the world and everybody in the world, and that we are open and we have a platform to be able to have those conversations constructively. So when I think about our school, we have restorative practices now that we've done for 2 years for staff. And that's made a very big difference on our ability to be able to have hard conversations or small conversations. Because we're learning skills to be able to communicate with each other respectfully, honestly, in order to build that trust. I frequently remind myself that relationships are built on the repairs of things that happen, because things will happen. That is going to happen. It's the repair that builds the relationship. And so we have restorative practices to help with that repair. And that our school collectively wants to continue to work to make this a school that's working to make this world a more socially just world. So that is happening next Thursday. Some staff and I are meeting with them.
what we're gonna do is describe what our school, they're gonna give us feedback, we're gonna write an introduction, then they're gonna give us feedback on the introduction, and then they're gonna meet with us again, and then they're going to ask us questions and help us unpack some of the things that we don't even see or notice. Because many of us are white. Many of us grew up in Vermont. And we don't have as much experience with a diverse racial population as other places do. But this is coming from our students. Our students want teachers that look like them. And the research is very clear that increasing the racial diversity or just the diversity of your staff increases the achievement of your students. The data it's unequivocal. So this is our hope. The one thing I hear is, oh, we've tried that. I think we can do it. And I'm not gonna let that stray from the work that we need to do.
So this came up, this is definitely a non-confidential element of an otherwise confidential group, but this came up as a question when we first started looking at applications for the 5-6. And teacher, and thank goodness we had got who we got, or 4-5, sorry. I think at that time we started talking about it, and then the question was, well, if we wanted to actually do this, it needed to be done earlier than when you actually have a selection committee trying to go through applications and trying to do things or to bring on a consultant at that time. So I just think that this is really, really important, and I'm just so glad that you're doing it, and I would love to know how we can support you in the school. And if I do know Vermont Partnership for Fairness and Diversity also offers a service, it does not seem, it looks like you're set. But if later in the process you need someone else, they do that. And a few years ago I brought a quote from Curtis for that, and it wasn't the right time, but it looks like this is the right thing. I just think it's so important. I think a lot of the assumptions of why certain people wouldn't want to live here are also naive. And that our diversity of southern Vermont, especially Brattleboro, is frequently misrepresented as all white and whatnot. And so I just think that this is so important, so grateful you're doing it. And completely unrelated, for anyone who doesn't know her, Carol's awesome. Such a gift. Carol and Patty are like such different personalities that work so well. So as someone with a pre-K person, it's just like, whoa, this magical duo of them. So thanks for that.
So next week's gonna be a fun week. We're gonna do a lot of good stuff. Again, we did find a new food program director. She's great. Gail and I were discussing the other day that we are just so incredibly lucky with the chefs that we end up with, that the food that we eat is just out of this world. We just had peanut noodles, whether you want it gluten-free or not, with sliced snow peas, sunflower sprouts, and it's just
Nice.
just so nice to be able to get incredibly high quality food at school, and to also diversify the kids' experience with food too. Still not my daughter. It must be white, but at least they're getting exposed to it, and we definitely have like a try it before you eat the peanut butter and jelly. And I think that's a really important piece to bring in as well too. We sent Tom to an antigen test as well. All School Sing, we're having discussions. It will not be back on March 10th. I want to update that. We've got to do a couple more things before we plan that. Mostly around scheduling. Carving out a half an hour plus the 15 minutes before and after. We've got to work on that a little bit.
Who will be lead on those?
On All School Sing? Most likely Wendy. The band needs to perform because we have a band now that practices quite a bit. So Steve will take a piece of it, and Jesslyn as well too.
Cool.
Jesslyn pulls out the camp counselor like you would not believe. Like we were joking.
Born to the role.
Yeah. Have you gone to?
Yeah, I've seen her in that role. Yeah.
Like, what the? Yeah, we're like, well, the first time, we hired her, and obviously we didn't say like, so how do you feel about doing All School Sing? That was not part of the application process. And then we joked around because Tim was the previous one, so we're like, oh yeah, the in my sarcastic way, I'm like, yeah, Tim used to be it, so I just want to let you know that you're it, and you got 10 minutes to get ready. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, she rocked it. So, and I was joking; it wasn't actually her time, but she does that. So those are the folks that'll lead it. Mobile classroom, we're good. We are good.
Say no more. Move on.
Yes, thank you.
Keep going.
Exhaust system. We got an estimate for $16,000 for our kitchen exhaust.
What would you like to do?
Yeah, what do you want to do? I want to add. So our original estimate was between $8,000 and $9,000 a couple years ago. It's now 16. So for me, I saw the price and I actually remember where I saw the email. I was like, whoa. One piece that I just realized the other day is that we were having to have the windows open quite a bit because the CO2 levels are getting pretty high. And Jesslyn told me the other day that, which is the classroom right up from the kitchen, that when she got there at 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that, it was already at 950 parts per million. Should be like 450 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things to consider the exhaust system, and whether we do it or not, is to know that it is increasing the CO2 levels in the school quite a bit. And so to be able to get the classrooms done, we've been having to keep the windows, like I said, open quite a bit, which is not good when the days are 10 degrees. So that's just something to consider as well too, because the current stove that we have creates just as much BTUs as the biomass boiler if you turn them all on. That's how much heat it can make and how much exhaust, how much CO2 it can make as well too. So we are getting nicer. The windows are wide open today, but just wanted to throw it out there. So I'd like to see what you want to do.
Well, I guess I will say, I would be in favor of toughing it out if we can until the weather gets better and keeping the windows open. That just seems like becoming a large amount of money to plow into something we don't know where we're going with it. So I don't know, that was my initial thought.
Other thoughts?
Meaning we won't be in this space to make it worthwhile?
If
Is
we
that what you're
are,
saying?
I mean, if we decide that we are going to be in this school here, then there'll be such a major renovation that it would be
Kitchen
included
might not be there.
in a different way of
Right.
paying for it. This is just cash out of pocket at this point, so.
Jude, anybody?
Well, it would be another year or something of, right? I mean,
Yeah,
at
probably
least
2
minimum,
years. I'm
2
thinking-
years,
thinking
yeah.
2 years. I think
So it's like
really expensive.
$8,000 a year to close the windows in the winter. I don't know, that seems I don't know where it would come from, so I don't know what implication it has, and well, I don't know what line item this draws off, but if you think about it that way, it's not $8,000 for HVAC is not insane. I mean, it's more than you want, definitely, but I don't know.
Well, let me just go to the next bullet point there. Is there any possibility that that's condensation? Because when propane burns, a huge amount of moisture is released with it, and that
That's
can seep up
interesting.
into the
It's
roof
not leaking. It's,
and then melt when it gets hot from above and drip back down.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me. So, having said what I just said, let me throw that other monkey wrench in the works. We see this all the time in tight buildings that there's so much moisture, especially when little kids and cooking and everything going on. It's got to go somewhere, and it loves to seep up in and then freeze and then thaw and drip.
Yeah.
This is not as educated as Dan's comment, but would it be cheaper to purchase things to purify the air in the rooms than to spend it on the exhaust system?
We have those. We have air purifiers for every classroom. The CO2 levels is something that can't be taken out.
Okay.
It's just, and numbers 1,200 is like, okay, 1,500, not very healthy. The recommended new building code is 800. No classroom is keeping it under 800. We are sort of at this point because we have the windows wide open. Our unit ventilators that are over there can't allow enough fresh air to come in on cold days, because if the flap opens up more to let more fresh air in, it'll freeze the coil. So you essentially have to open up the windows in order to keep the CO2 levels down. So if you do drive by and you see the front door open and it's 20 degrees, it's because I'm
It's
creating
not because they don't
essentially
care about
a,
the climate.
you know, essentially a chimney in the school to clean it out, especially at lunchtime and recess time.
I have heard the neighbors say, maybe it was about the lights being left on, but I can imagine if they saw the windows open. They're like, hey.
Did I miss what you're saying? What was there some sort of estimate about how much we are losing by not having HVAC system with having the windows open as far as heat costs? Was that a part of the
No,
calculation?
I have no idea what that is. It doesn't really matter too much in that on really cold days, both of our boilers are at max capacity anyways. So
Okay.
that we're actually, it's just colder. It's not that the windows are open and we're making more heat to keep the room warmer. It's just colder.
So we can't. There's not a way to justify the cost. We shouldn't consider us any sort of savings in keeping the windows closed. That in order to justify the $8,000 a year.
Yeah, it's one, I don't, that's why I was like, what do you want to do? Because it's quite a bit of money. And we know that we're going to be in a new school, and we know that the kitchen has to be updated. So
I tell you what, why don't I undertake this? I will see if I can figure out what our monthly costs are to heat the building during the months of December, January. We've got a couple of months now, we could look at that. And work with you, Wayne, to see what percentage of the time, and therefore approximately what percentage of that heat was essentially wasted because we had to open the windows to keep CO2 levels down. Try to come up with that number you're looking for, Jeremy. Not do anything right away, but maybe by next meeting, try to have come up. Would be the potential savings if we spent $16,000 by not having to open the windows and run the heaters full blast.
yeah.
I'm sorry, hi everybody, just jumping in as the voice of the public here. Are you 100% positive it's the stove? Is that creating the CO2?
Yeah.
Can't you just replace the stove for
No,
less than
it's
16
propane.
Electric?
Uh,
It's gotta be less than 16 grand, and then your ventilation doesn't have to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we could look into going, I don't know how I'm not sure if you can even cook high volume with an electric top. I don't even know if they make one.
Yeah.
That I don't know. No, yeah.
Well, it might be worth looking at the source of the CO2 and remediating that instead of trying to, if you get a bigger vent system and you start to pump more air out, it's gotta come back in from somewhere.
Right.
And that's only gonna make it cold as well. It's not gonna, magically exhaust the air and not replace it with something.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, I know this building definitely leaks. I think the thing is, what is the CO2 level for the chef that's cooking at that point? And then also just being able to know truly what those CO2 levels are. I think it would help to get more air out of this building because we definitely need more fresh air coming in, for sure. It's just unfortunately we couldn't put like a heat recovery ventilation system as opposed to just a straight open up the window, ventilation system. Yeah, I don't know if you can get a commercial grade electric range. So you'd have to look at California. I think it's where San Francisco outlawed all propane ranges at this point, so maybe they have a solution.
So decision is to pause on the exhaust system for now.
I'm happy to do that work and try to have it ready for next month, so we can figure it out.
The one other thing is that I think Dan, maybe you know a little bit more, just thinking about the music festival. We might know a little bit more by September, October next year, do you think? About where we're going and what we're doing?
By October, I think we might, because they have said nothing till September, but I anticipate them sort of jumping on it pretty quickly at that point, yeah. So maybe by next year's budget, we would be able to start to think about how we're gonna address some of the larger items. Yeah,
Yeah, that's just a thought too, is
Yeah.
that, you know, as it gets warmer, it doesn't matter that the windows are open as much and you got the different
Buy
door,
some
that's
time.
fine too. It's
Yeah.
really a November problem at this
Yeah.
point now.
Okay.
but nonetheless, let me,
Yeah.
if you give me the out, I won't get anything done, so let's do it now while we have some cold months right underneath our belts. And then in October, we can make an informed decision on that.
Yeah,
so.
sounds good.
The roof leaked.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
That's right.
Do you want to add? You had mentioned you wanted to add a
Oh, yeah.
conversation about winter sports.
Winter
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah, why don't you just bring up winter sports? You know, I think every year at this time, Gail and I, we get to the end of winter sports, and you know, we've jumped the hurdles, and you know, this year was a real unfortunate winter sports year. And so I'll just take you through a little bit of what winter sports looked like behind the scenes, and then thinking about how we can make it better, or replacing it with something else. I know we've talked about this in the past, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because, again, how challenging this was. So we didn't go, working with Mount Snow is challenging. It just is. They're a company that is from Colorado. I think it's not like we're making them a bunch of money by sending 50 kids there. It first starts with the students being able to get their season pass. Before it was very easy. We'd send the paperwork in, they'd send the ticket back. Now you gotta, parents have to take a more active role. Gail started very early working with them, because the last time we worked with them was a real challenge. And we thought we were good up until the third week of December, and they said, actually no, you paid for only 5 days. And Gail said that's correct, because we're only going for 5 days. So I said, it doesn't matter if you go 1 day or 5 days or 6 days, we charge you for 6 days.
Oh, for God's
So, so we sent them in the money for the 6th day. We were $186 short. That's not, it was just, we overpaid them. That was the remaining balance. We sent it in Wednesday or Thursday. The following week, they called us Wednesday or Thursday, said we have not received your check, therefore we are canceling your first winter sports the following Monday.
even though you're still gonna get charged for it, it's gonna be, that's one of the 6 no matter what.
It's one of the 5.
It became 5, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
No, it was
It
5
was
to begin
originally
with.
fine.
Oh, it
5 to
was,
begin with.
okay,
So they're
yeah.
already charging us 6 and we're only going 5. We're $186 short, and they said we couldn't come on that first week back from winter break. So that's why we all went ice skating. I kept the message clean at that point, but this is what happened. I thought that was ridiculous, and they were not gonna budge at $186. They had the check in their building. The check was not in the right mailbox, because as you know, it only takes a day to go from here to there.
Right.
I was the one that delivered the replacement check by hand.
Yeah.
And the employee, like, we couldn't find the people, and they were like running, she was like, oh yes, we need this right now, and then she was like jogging to try to find the guy, and so the employees that were receiving it seemed to be also feeling like they were on our side. It just seems very confusing there right now.
It does, yeah. And I think everybody's just doing what they're doing, right? So that we missed that one. Luckily, this rink was really accommodating. I had a great time. Doug was counting how many times I fell on my keister. And
I didn't
that
want
was
to go, but
good.
I had to.
And then, you know, this past week, it was just cold, and we know that when it's single digits and we got a wind chill, that the kids, they can go, they just don't have fun. It's just really hard on them, so we didn't do that. So we ended up going to 3 winter sports out of the 5. We paid for 6. Bunch of legwork to be able to make this happen. You know, we had teachers go this year. That helped quite a bit. We all want this to happen. We all look forward to it. And at the same exact time, there's a tremendous amount of hoops to make that happen. The other part is the bill for what it costs to go skiing, Beak this year, buses, was $9,800. So much of that funding was paid for by families. Left us $3,000 that we will pay for through the school. But that's a $10,000 bill, not counting Gail's time. And Gail's time I would probably estimate as to about 50 hours. So I am not,
Wow.
I would easily 50 hours.
Wow.
I would say every Monday Gail's working on it from the second she gets here until the kids
A
leave.
lot.
And so I loved this tradition. You know, my wife had this opportunity. My father-in-law had this opportunity. My kids get to have this opportunity now. And I'm just not, I'm here at the end of it. Obviously, I'm feeling really close to it. But I'm bringing this up now with the idea of thinking about this a little bit more, because what happens is we go through this summer, we don't think about skiing for 4 months, and then we hit November and we start this cycle all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel it's good for the kids. I don't feel like it's all that good for the parents who come up with the $6,000 to make this happen. And so I'm just wondering about this, and I just would love to know your take on this after this information. Yeah, Dan.
Well, I want to, I know it's in no way comparable, but the little ski hill at Memorial Park next door to the rink there is available all the time, and for probably $1,000 a year, we could buy all the time we could provide. I don't know if it could be made more challenging by finding people who would work on slalom courses or something like that, because it's not going to be the instructors and it's not going to be the slopes, obviously, from Mount Snow, but you know, the amount of hours per kid on skis there could be 5 times as much, I'm guessing. And I think we could somehow make it challenging if we could get maybe Sally White, who teaches at Mount Snow, would work with kids on some competitive thing that would make it more interesting for the kids who ski more. And then also we have, you know, Spencer Knickerbocker with the Nordic thing up here. You know, I think what happens is Mount Snow just has all the cachet in the world, and every kid wants to go to Mount Snow, and so did all of us when we were here. But if you take the expense in and the sort of the complications and the negatives that you're pointing out, maybe a much more smaller, more local thing is put together that costs way less money and is kind of more accessible or whatever. I don't know, just throw that out there, both of those two being right close by and available.
The people, the town of Dover, the citizens of Dover, the employees of what's now Vail Resorts, I mean, everyone is the up in the air about whether they even offer discounts originally to kids or local kids. Everyone is just so disappointed in this company that has taken it over. Bill, have you heard anything from other schools? Because we are not the only school in this area. And
No,
what
I hear
makes
that.
what?
I hear exactly what you said.
So what makes this go away is the town of Dover and their select board doing what they've always done, which is both, you know, everyone's there, the whole town, both those towns are there because of this industry, and at the same time, sometimes local elected officials need to flex a little bit more in order to get things. So I think that it's possible that that will happen. And some of my work in that, I mean, they took away the employee discounts on gear at their own stores, which they still make a profit over. So this is an ongoing problem, and I know that there are other efforts to try to get Vail Resorts to care a little bit more about the local community. So just to add to it, there are other things in motion about this, and I doubt that we are. I know we're not the only school that's dealing with it. So as we think about it, we might also, I don't know, if there's a way we contact other school board members and try to do something, or I could find out from my work like what the select board is currently doing about what's obviously they're getting a lot of emails about what the heck's going on. Everyone's fired 40 high earning people, everyone's losing money and benefits. So, and they raise prices.
Right.
So.
Can I ask a question, Bill? Did Dover participate this year?
Yep.
And who else?
Did
Yeah,
Wardsboro?
right.
Yep.
I wonder, do you know if Twin Valley did?
No,
I
They
don't
did
know
not.
that.
no, I found that out today.
Did they
Valley
have
did
problems like we do, or is?
No, just, you know, not as smooth as it has been in the past, you know.
Yeah.
But when they're there though, it's very different when you're right there, and You know what I mean? And it's a little bit more distant.
Yeah, we're like just slightly removed from, I mean, we're a hill town, but we're not really a hill town.
Right.
Like Marlboro's a little funky. I'm hearing two different things happening. So I'm hearing like school board and maybe select board from a regional collaboration coming together and saying something collectively to Vail and saying, look, our communities are support the business here. We are the ones that welcome your guests. We are the ones that maintain your mountain and your facilities. Like, please take care of our children by providing this opportunity for them. So I feel like, if there's somebody on the board that is willing to be like our voice with a select, and I would encourage us to partner with our select board, with a select board member, maybe like one school board member and one select board person from each of the hill towns. And do it not just by like Wyndham Central, Wyndham South, I think it needs to be a collaborative statement to the mountain. So, I mean, Jeremy, if you're cool taking the.
I mean, I'm very available to do that
I
because
just think
there
that
are
would
kids, there are
Yeah,
kids that have
sounds
been in Olympic training
Yeah.
programs whose
Yeah.
parents were having a tough time putting food on the table, and that disappears, and that
Right.
becomes only the rich kids if this
Right.
program
Right.
goes away.
Well,
So
and I
I'd be
have-
happy to do that.
I have close friends that are very connected to the adaptive program
Yeah,
at Mount Snow, and it's a
absolutely.
huge gift for our local community
Yes, it
kids to
is.
be able to participate. They've historically been able to participate in it for free. So just wanting to make sure that maintains, like, there's just a lot of pieces there, right? So I think it would be very powerful if it was like a collaborative thing. So I see that as one possibility, and I also I know that I'm gonna put on my FTA hat here for a hot second. So in the fall, and a little bit like, late summer-ish, when Elise and I were kind of trying to do the reboot for FTA, we were trying to figure out like what it was we were gonna do and the ways that we could support things. COVID, has made it a little bit challenging. We've definitely been able to do a lot, but one of the conversations that we were having was like, how can we help take some of the burden of winter sports off of you and Gail? Because it is so intense, and I think because Gail has been in it for so long and she just has, it was easier for her to just say, I just need to do it myself, which I totally get. But piggybacking off of what you said, like maybe it becomes, another charge of FTA to say, okay, like this is something that we do. Like the FTA, does
Okay.
winter
It's
sports.
the third time she said FTA, you didn't ask her.
Jeremy's the acronym guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Family Teacher Association.
I know it. I memorized that one thing.
Maybe that's one of the things that we really say that, we can, and we bring Gail into the loop and we bring you into the loop. And, if there are other folks in this community that are willing to, step up, our engagement in FTA has been kind of like lame.
Well, it's COVID time, man.
It doesn't matter. It's still lame. So trying to get folks like to actually participate and say, but we know that we have lots of chaperones and we know that, the folks have been really, like, it means something to folks. So like, what does it look like? Do we, not try to do Mount Snow? Do we try to do like a different thing and we change, like maybe school just ends at 1:00 and then parents show up and we take it, like, it becomes an initiative that is not something that the school does, it's something that FTA runs. And we do registrations and we take the funds and so
there is a model for that at Dover.
okay.
And it's a win-win because the equivalent of FTA does it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have professional development
Mm-hmm.
when
When that happens.
it all,
Right, so then
yeah.
I mean, I would love to, if you could connect me with that person in Dover, I would love to just know like
Yes.
how they do it and what it looks like.
Absolutely.
And then we can talk about it at our next FTA meeting. I mean, you can chat about it with Gail, like, think about it. I mean, obviously no decision is happening right now, but like, I'm throwing things to see what sticks.
Yeah, and I think that in many years past, we paid more money than we paid this year, but I'm gonna say quick 3 things. I like everything Selena said, and Jeremy, I'll assist in any way possible with joining Dover, if you can get them to talk to Vail, I'm happy
Yeah,
to go
and
to any
so
Zoom
you-
meeting with that board of Vail's corporate headquarters and talk to them.
Yeah, I know that you've worked at the mountain for years and you've skied there for years, right? So like, there's stuff that I might not know about, but if I could do that part, maybe I could check in with you about other things. And also, just to let everyone know, if you don't already know, this is the reputation of Vail Resorts at other places too. So that is, I'd be very optimistic about the campaign if it was just to get them to do right by Dover, but it seems like it is a part of their larger business plan, because other places, wherever they own in New Hampshire, was specifically, there's an article recently about.
Wildcat has had that
Thank you.
community up there has had as I skied there this past winter.
Great, yeah,
And
so-
every person that I met there, they're like, F Vail.
I
It was
mean-
like so bad.
Yeah, so like, their money comes from New York. Their money comes from the same place that the liquor store, the 7-Eleven gets
Yeah.
their money. And so, yeah, so I'm good at that one part, I'll do that. And then if it seems like a lost cause or someone else is already working on it, we'll just let them do it. But, and what does that look like? So it's spring and you're bringing it up now, so we think about the future, but can we say that by May, I could report back like, oh, I've done this, or I've found out this stuff? Would that be good? The May meeting, or do you need to know?
Oh, no,
sooner?
I think, I just don't wanna send up, in November next year,
No, 100%.
without thinking about this, and, so Dan, I've thought about, exactly
I
about
love the
what you
skiing.
said too about Memorial Park, because if the snow's really bad, you can always go skating.
Right,
And you
right.
could also go skating, some kids could go skating and some kids could go skiing.
Mhm.
Right.
And for a lot of our kids, that mountain is plenty big enough.
Mhm.
It's really only our much older kids that it's not much of a challenge anymore. So I'm starting to feel like that might be a really good option. Because the goal is that we just want to go skiing and have fun. Like, that's what we want. But at this point, the amount of legwork that it takes in order to get us to that hill, the back leg, it's just too much. And like you said too, the cost would be substantially less.
And not only that, but the small amount of money that we might pump into it, like a tenth as much or
It makes a
whatever.
big difference to that.
It's gonna make a
program.
big difference, and they have
That's a good
volunteers
point.
making snow there probably right now. They'll do more if a little bit more is coming in, and if there's a little more sort of public spiritedness going with it too, so.
I do flag for that idea, which I didn't get to finish, but the idea of instructors I'm concerned
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
That's a lot of kids on that mountain, and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and they only have the T-bar, and kids that don't know how to use it, that's gonna, one kid falls off, it's shut down for a while, and then, I don't know, I just feel like it's not the best option. Like you said, if you can get racing in it, I feel maybe, but the ruts are created pretty quickly on that mountain, so, I don't know. I don't think it's the best option for skiing. I'd like to pursue Mount Snow at least to get, because it seems like it's kinks, right? If Dover didn't have a problem in Wardsboro, but they did have sort of frustrations, I'm sure.
Frustration, but not problem.
Not problems. Like, we need to solve the problems of, a corporation taking an extra day of our skiing, and we've already paid for 2 extra days. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I think we need to address the problems, and this is sort of a fight, I think that I'm interested in making, so.
And I was wondering if anybody from West River is part of that, because it seems like
They go to Stratton.
they go to Stratton. So it's Dover and Marlboro and not Twin Valley either. So that's who you got. That's who you're.
It's Dover, Wardsboro, Marlboro.
Dover, Wardsboro, Marlboro.
But-
Right.
Top of the cake, we need to relieve Gail somehow. That can't happen next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell Gail that help is coming.
Thanks to Family Teacher Alliance.
Nice, thank
Is that
you.
right?
Association.
But no, thanks,
Same
that's so awesome, that's so awesome. We always talk about, yeah, it's just awesome, I'll be quiet. Talk about people always, oh, I wanna volunteer, but then do people actually show up for work days? It seems like those two groups are actually the people doing things, so that's so cool.
And there's people we haven't reached out to yet that actually, chaperone at the mountain.
Right.
That don't know that we're having this conversation. I think if we get them involved, they might be able to assist as well, so.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, I think this is the main reason why I wanted to have this conversation, is that we all want kids skiing during winter sports. And how can we make it so that it works just so much better for all of us? So, thanks, I appreciate that.
Could you do me a favor and send me a list of the people who were chaperones this year? Because I know I was a failed chaperone this year, so I never actually got to see who was there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank
I was
you.
close to fail. I was always late, but me.
You loved it, man.
Okay, other business, any other business? Other than the executive session we're gonna move into? You arrived late, you missed the members of the public, but do you want a chance to speak?
No, I was really here for the conversation that just happened. Elisa couldn't make it, and luckily
Okay.
Selena's here as a member of the FTA, so I just wanted to
Sub
lend
in.
our support. I know the FTA is fully on board with doing all the support and fundraising that they can, so.
And
everyone else
FTA
knows.
stands for,
I have no idea.
You're lucky
there-
they just approved the designated hitter rule in baseball for, you subbing for Elisa, but.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so it got covered, and I just wanted to
Cool.
check in otherwise.
Thanks, David.
So, yeah, thanks.
Artist
Pam.
couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are the artist couple.
That's right.
My wife
Oh.
came to a couple meetings.
2-1.
Yeah, she's the
3 kids.
A billion.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
What else do you know about
Thank
us?
you. Art Council, did you look into that and get on the list? The Vermont Arts Council, so that all the grants can flow through you. We can apply for grants, the money flows through you. I talked to your wife.
Yeah, we're on it there. We're on. I don't know. I'll check with her. But if
so
we
much,
aren't,
Dave.
we will. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
We do have some business to take care of. It's the most important business. We have to approve minutes and pay order. Do we
Oh,
need, do we
yes.
need Bill for the executive session?
You don't, because I know everything.
He knows everything.
So we don't have questions? You're just
Okay,
updating us.
goodbye.
Bill,
Bye,
you're
Bill.
out of here.
Yes!
thank you, Bill.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
Drive
Can you
careful.
hand me that, buddy?
Go Bengals.
Yep, of course.
Oh, it's too late.
Wayne,
Too late.
Celtics, man. It's been a wonderful couple weeks.
Yeah,
It's like a whole new world, man.
yes it is.
Is Peter
Is
still out
that
there?
because of the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
No,
he's here.
'cause the
Peter, are you listening?
Oh,
9-1,
Celtics. Oh,
man.
wow.
Are you awake?
Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay, good.
They
We're about to
crushed
approve minutes and pay
the
orders.
Sixers.
Selena's gonna forward you the
Yeah.
pay order numbers.
Yeah, let me just, I have,
Um,
my computer went to sleep. Give me a sec.
Bye.
bye, Bill.
Bye, Bill, thank you.
Sorry I couldn't make the
Yeah,
meeting
you
this
too.
morning.
It's okay, we missed you.
I know you did.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve pay order dated 2/17/2022 in the amount of $106,000, $233.53.
That's a lot of bread.
Not really.
I'll
Second,
second it.
what's,
That was a little one.
it was a little one?
Yeah, that's
Say the
good.
amount again, please.
$106,233.53.
Thank you.
Do I hear a, oh, motion's done.
Was it
Any
done?
discussion or anomalies?
No, it's a
Okay.
little one.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
So that Donna sent me is the exact same thing that Gail has here. So what, I'm just gonna continue to do what we have been doing,
Okay.
and, Jeremy and I have the electronic signature thing figured out. I know it's already been done,
Okay, great.
so, I mean, we can sign this too, I guess. I don't think it matters if we've signed it twice, but we've already e-signed it, so, and it's already on its way to Donna. So she has the approval.
This
Great.
would be going to the town.
This one's going to town office. So when I've been doing it before, and I've been sending it to Dawn, or to Donna, Linda is also in on it, so she gets it as well.
Okay.
Is that,
The e-signature, right?
Right.
So she knows that even though this doesn't have a signature on it, it's been approved.
right.
So
I'm
this
just trying
can
to figure out if
so-
that's like,
Yeah, but this happened several times in the past. This isn't the first one to be not physically signed, right? We've been
I
doing
haven't,
this
I
for-
haven't physically signed anything
Yeah.
in a year probably.
So this can just, Gail can take this up.
Yeah, I never have, so.
Sounds good.
Is there a second on that?
There was a second by Dan.
Thank you.
No problem. A voice from.
Yeah, disconnected, yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to be very proud of us and say that I'll entertain a motion
Do
to
we have to
approve.
vote on this?
Oh, we did already, don't
Well,
We did.
Oh, did we? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have any
Come on,
minutes to,
keep up, Dan.
do we have any minutes to?
we? Get in there, everybody,
Oh.
chill out. Just chill
I thought you were
out.
going, I thought you were going to exec session.
I'm very proud of us because we only have
Can
one
we
draft
approve?
minutes to approve.
Jude, would that be okay?
Awesome.
Your last meeting,
And
we
it
throw
is-
food at each
Definitely.
other.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do I have to put my hand?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Listen. Draft minutes for January 20th. Do I hear a motion to approve
So moved.
as drafted? That's Selena motioning,
Second, Peter.
seconding by Dan. All those in favor, say aye. Okay, come on guys, this is the best part of the meeting. Okay, now I will entertain a motion to enter executive session. And I think that we'll let you wrap up and we'll just pop upstairs.
Okay, so this is adjournment and everything?
Yes, we will get, Peter, Selena will pop you off the adjournment time, okay?
Sure, who's, moving?
I moved, Dan seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.